Jim, there is no takeover to speak of. However, there is an episode of Dynamite and an episode, surprisingly, the second to last episode of the season of Rhodes to the Top to review here today.
Well, let's, for just 1 second, let's explain that. Apparently, you have looked at the channel guide because not only is our schedule screwed up, but also a lot of these TV programs are changing either stations or days or times or whatever. And now you were looking to try to verify that we unfortunately aren't going to miss any of these upcoming wrestling programs. And it says for next Saturday night's Rhodes to the Rotten, immediately following Saturday night's Dynamite that's been moved from Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. It says it's the season finale. So we had 2 episodes air on the debut. It was a 1 hour show, but apparently that was the 2 episodes in terms of their season, right?
Yeah, the same way Raw used to pretend it was 2 different shows for the 2 hours. Same
and
thing.
Then the second week they aired 2 new programs, but they were clearly listed and defined as 30 minutes each. And then the one that we just watched, unfortunately, and next, so they committed to 6 episodes of this. I would think they've probably taken a bath on this thing so far to begin with. What were the ratings after the first week? Do we have any idea? Has anybody even said?
You know, let me look that up. I have no idea. You're right. I haven't heard anything about that.
Because we mentioned that if there was some morbid curiosity in the first week that caused people to tune in, that would quickly evaporate once they got a good, strong whiff of the content of the programming.
I have ratings.
Well, please enlighten us on the ratings.
And let me give credit to where this came from. This apparently is from Wrestling Inc. Episodes 1 and 2, like you said, they debuted the same night. Right after Dynamite, 422,000 viewers with a 0.17 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. Episodes 3 and 4, 369,000 viewers with a 0.16 rating in the 18 to 49.
Hold on one second. Does it differentiate? Because that was 3 and 4, but it was 2 different shows, so it seems like they ought to give us the ratings for the show that aired from 10 p.m. to 10:30 and then 10:30 to 11, because I can't believe it was exactly the same for both programs.
Right, and we would have to get that information. I don't have it in front of me, but I would think the same thing.
Well, I would think the people at Wrestling Inc. should have thought of that. That's the first thing I thought of, but go ahead.
Episode 5, which we're going to be reviewing shortly, 340,000 viewers with a 0.14 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. So obviously each episode has gone down without knowing episode 4.
I got to be completely honest. I cannot believe that it held up that well. What is that, like 100,000 viewers between the first episode and the most recent one we have info on? I can't believe that the bottom didn't drop out like Black Friday in 29. I would have imagined some of the executives at the network jumping out of their... Well, but I guess if all the network executives are of TNT are in Atlanta, they don't have high rises. So if they jumped out the 3rd or 4th story, they'd probably just break their fucking leg.
I don't think anyone's giving that much thought to Rhodes to the Top.
After I saw the first week, I'm thinking, next week it's going to be the first TV program in history to do a negative rating, where some people are going to renege on watching the first week. They're like, no, we're giving you that back.
It was a negative Q rating they did.
We renounce that we saw that. But anyway, should we talk about this program since we've already done this? Should we just flow, if you will, into Rhodes to the Rotten?
Let's flow right into Rhodes to the Rotten.
We're flowing much like a sump pump sends the sewage into a basin. I don't know what I was more uncomfortable about on this program. This is the one October 16th, by the way, the Saturday night special. I don't know whether I was most uncomfortable about the details that we were given about Brandy's uncomfortable pregnancy, or again, the backstage details we were given that all wrestlers, whenever they have a match, plan everything out beforehand and immediately come back afterwards and hug each other like a bunch of goddamn kumbaya singers at summer camp. I don't know which offended me or made me more uncomfortable, squirmy, skeeved me out, as my cousin used to say. The start was again all about Brandy's not about Brandy's pregnancy in terms of, oh, I'm so happy we're going to have a girl or whatever, but no, she's uncomfortable, she's fucking huge, and they're showing her she's walking around. She's saying this. I'm not saying this. She's uncomfortable and she's huge and she's wobbling around when she's walking. She tells us that the baby is upside down, and then she relates to us how if she wrestles again and takes a big bump, she might piss herself uncontrollably because of whatever damage that this procedure is going to do or potentially might do, that the doctors have said. Did we need to hear any of that on television? Brian, you just had a baby. Would you have said any of that on television? Well, you did not. You know what I mean.
Yeah, we don't really crave attention.
Suzanne did all the work.
We don't really crave attention the same way the Rhodes family appears to crave attention.
So we segued from that into Cody's wrestling school, where the storyline of this episode is they're training Brock Anderson, and Brock's got his first match coming up, and the pressure is on Cody somehow for Brock's match not to suck. I think the pressure's on Brock, actually. But Cody goes to Florida for this show without Brandy. They made sure to show him leaving and her closing the door. She's still home. And, apparently, since she's clocking in about 250 and can barely walk, Cody's sister,
come on.
What they were showing,
250?
She's saying
250?
My God, she was enormous. I don't know.
I
didn't
250.
see a scale, but anyway, she's housebound there. Homebound, the sick and the shut in, as Boyd Pierce used to say. That's why we're having this main event on TV today, for all you sick and shut ins. I wonder if they cured all those diseases that the wrestling promoters used to put main events on television once in a while for, the sick and the shut ins. You never hear that phrase anymore. Is no one sick and shut in?
Well, now they're shut in, but they go online, so you get to hear from them.
Well, and I wish they'd shut up. So Teal and Cody's mom come to watch Dynamite. Sister and mother are over. It's a family Dynamite watching party. And they're telling a story, and I don't know if it's reality television work, or it seems to me to have the air of legitimacy that Teal and Brandy are not on the same page. And Teal's basically looking at her when Brandy's sitting there on the couch talking about, well, when I get back in the ring, right? And she's like, are you really going to try to wrestle again? And looking at her like she's got a turd hanging out of her mouth when she says this. Like most people would when you're 38 years old and you just had a baby and
you were never a wrestler. You were never a wrestler
before until you wrestled a little while and you weren't good at it and no one's clamoring for you to do it again. So Teal shits on the idea, and so did Mom over and over, and there's that, anxiety they've got. But meanwhile, Cody's down in Florida. Dustin is telling the people how to work the cameras and telling the girl opponents that the object is to go out and have fun. Have fun when you're having your match, beating each other up. Yeah, that's what you say in the fucking back, but don't put it on television. God damn it. Even if the fucking business is so exposed and phony these days, go out, have fun. And tell them how to, then afterwards he critiqued them on how to do fake shit better. And then, the match we saw this program was shot ages ago, is Cody and Brock against QT and Solo. That was back when a Go-Go was still around. much less, where did Comoroto go?
No, Camarado's still there. A Go-Go's gone.
A Go-Go gone?
A Go-Go gone. Camarado stay.
He should have woke me up before he a Go-Go'd. But anyway, they made sure that the people knew that was all a complete work and that everyone said thank you afterwards. And so then Teal gives Brandy a baby bracelet that Dusty gave her as an olive branch, as she called it, and that seemed like a nice gesture on her part. And then as they were leaving Brandy's house, their last word was, "Call us if your water breaks." Oh my God, I'm glad I watched this before I ate dinner. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm medical phobic. I don't want to hear any of that shit. That's why I don't watch the Discovery Surgery Channel or Dr. Pimple Popper. So when Cody comes home and hears about the family visit and she shows him the bracelet, Cody tells her about all the strings that are attached. And then they spent 5 minutes droning on back and forth about the meaning of the bracelet and its intended consequences, etc. This was fucking brutal. And then finally, the last thing that you see before the big event, Brian, even though she couldn't go to the show, she still has these important duties as chief brandy officer of this company. And they actually showed her doing her makeup to get on her laptop in her house on camera on Skype and do 80s trivia night with her Heels group. Remember the Heels group that they plugged for about 3 weeks? A safe place for women wrestling fans until they figured out there are no women wrestling fans anymore.
$50 a year.
Huh?
$50 a year.
$50 a year. Usually it's $100 for an hour, but
Stop.
That's $50 a year. But
Jesus.
There are no female wrestling fans anymore, except for the ones that are drugged there begrudgingly by their boyfriends, because there's no men in the wrestling business anymore to attract those women. But anyway, while she's doing this important work, doing trivia on the internet on Skype with her Heels group,
80s trivia, she starts having contractions and gets on the phone with, I guess was the doctor. And then suddenly, boom, they show the security footage of outside. We got to go to the hospital. It's dark outside. And then Cody's in the hospital. And then she suddenly had the baby. Oh, no, wait. Then they say she's going to have a cesarean section. C-section,
which indicates cutting of things, from what I've heard.
Yes, it would.
And I don't want to know anymore. And thankfully, they didn't fill us in on any of that. And they have the baby. And that was like that entire thing. And you see the baby. The whole series has been talking about pregnancy and the baby shower and the families coming together and the blah, blah, blah. And the goddamn baby's born in like the last 90 seconds of this show. They spent 5 minutes talking about the baby bracelet, but the time from when they left the house and what we assume was a madcap rush to the hospital and a procedure of admittance.
They should have taken a bus.
However they got there. Maybe Adam Page picked him up on his brand new lawnmower. But however they got that, this whole procedure was not covered. And then Cody just commented, well, now we've had the baby. And then there's the baby. And the show's over. They have been building this. And suddenly, that would have been the great part. I Love Lucy, the highest rated television program or episode of I Love Lucy, which was one of the highest rated series of all time. And the highest rated episode of I Love Lucy was the night that little Ricky was born. And that remained, I believe it was the highest rated episode of television broadcast in America until either the last episode of The Fugitive when he caught the one-armed man or the moon landing. One or the other. And the best part of it is the fucking trip to the hospital. They didn't show their rehearsals. Can you see Cody and Brandy doing the rehearsal where they've got the suitcase by the door?
I can see them rehearsing.
The coats by the door, the suitcase by the door, the car keys on the Davenport or the chifforobe next to the door. The car pointed out, and they go, okay. And then Brandy would say, the time has come. And then Cody would say, come here, Brandy. And they would walk slowly to the door. That's what they do in the rehearsal. That's what they do in the rehearsal. They pick up the bags and they get in the truck and they drive. But when it really happens, when she goes, the time has come, he's like, the time has come. And he grabs the bag and he grabs the fucking coat and he grabs the keys and he runs and he gets to the car and he pulls out of the driveway. The problem is he forgets Brandy, the pregnant woman. So he has to come back in and get her. And then he forgets all the other shit and blah, blah, blah. And then we go to the hospital and they can't find a place to park. And now she's squirted whatever that water is that breaks all over the goddamn
Are you
carpeting,
booking this?
all over the carpeting. I guess I am, of his floor, of his truck, and it's soaked, and there's all kinds of smegma or magma or whatever they call that stuff all over the carpeting now. He's got to fucking clean this truck, but now they get her on the gurney and they wheel her in, but somehow they run into another gurney coming down the hallway and boom, and she tumbles over. Then they've got to fucking get somebody else to finally, right as they get her in the delivery room, the daggum kid pops out and one of the orderlies just happens to be standing there and fair catches the kid in a goddamn bedpan. Now that's exciting television, ladies and gentlemen.
See, I would do it the other way. I would have it mad panic. And you remember, they still want to get him over as a baby face, right?
Yeah.
He drives the bus. He doesn't know how to drive a bus. He doesn't have a bus driver's license. He gets behind the wheel of the bus. Brandy's in the first seat. She's screaming. He's hitting cars. He's on the highway. He's going nuts. He pulls up. Now he's a baby face.
And when he pulls the Nightmare Express.
Born to be Wild. Come on, Born to be Wild's playing as he's driving down the street.
What about Magic Carpet Ride, maybe? I like to. And he pulls the bus into the parking lot of the hospital, and there's like 6 or 7 small sports cars and family SUVs stuck under the undercarriage, and out she comes on the thing. But there needed to be more excitement on the finish of this program. But anyway.
Can I ask you a question, though, that I started thinking about during this? Look, Brock Anderson shows some potential.
Yes.
But he also, in my eyes, shouldn't have been on TV yet.
Yes.
He did the Cody match. He did the Malachi match and angle. I think that's really been it that we've seen on TV. We don't know what goes on in the YouTube universe. Anthony Ogogo, we never had heard of him. All of a sudden, he was elevated to this match. He had this match, and we haven't seen him since. I think he had eye surgery. So he's not there. And you got to think if he was going to have eye surgery, unless it was an emergency thing, they knew in advance something was coming up. He would have to go to England to have surgery.
Well, but fleshing that out, even because he's blind in one eye from what I hear. And he's got an issue where he doesn't want to lose the sight in the other eye. And so that takes precedent over a lot of shit. But why wouldn't you do a piece on that on television to explain it? You don't have to fucking crusade for 6 months as, oh, poor Anthony every week and GoFundMe or whatever, but just let people know and maybe have some update on the procedure on one of your athletes. But go ahead.
Well, that ties into my question. Again, not to take anything away from both guys' future and both guys' potential, but they were both rushed into something on TV and then they were gone, or, not used much like Brock Anderson. Was that all for the reality show?
I don't know. It actually, it was a whole lot better part of the wrestling show than it was the reality show. I just think that they just used Brock too soon in the thing with Cody and Malachi Black. It fit because of Arn and because of the other of Cody's minions that were affected. That fit. But at the same time, they they had debuted Brock in this particular match, that match with, QT and etc. That was rushing it. Because there's no way he should have had his debut match on national television, because a lot of people formed an opinion of him that might be hard to change later on. That's why OVW was valuable. That's why the territories were valuable. That's why small places where you could work 3 or 4 days a week, at least, even, 15 years ago, places like Burt Prentice would run that didn't get a lot of attention. Most people didn't know they were there. That's the best place for Brock Anderson. That's be the best place for 6 months or so for Rex Steiner, just so that they're not seen for the first time on national television. But no, I think it fit into that program, and the reality show was being done at the same time. But it's not fair to some of these guys. I mean, Rex Steiner obviously will recover from anything, because he's the closest thing I've seen to, a bulletproof prospect. I don't care what kind of fucking goofy gimmick they give him or goofy name or whatever, just for him to have that magnetism and athletic ability and look and size and voice. At this point, he'll figure out how to work. His dad did. But Brock does not have all of those attributes. He's like Arn, the promo that Arn cut one time. I parlayed average talent, average ability, and average looks with, I think, however he said, above average determination into the spot I've got. Because Arn was a natural, but not in terms of a bodybuilder or a giant or and I saw, God, how old is Brock Anderson right now? Because I met Arn in 1983. I would assume he was in his mid-20s at that point.
He's 24.
Okay, I met Arn when Arn was the same age as Brock is now, and Arn, at that point, looked pretty much like the Arn Anderson everybody remembers from the Four Horsemen. Because not only was he physically that large, give or take a pound or two, but his work was pretty close to what it was, because he'd had a year or two of being Marty Lundy and working Mid-South, the College of Wrestling Knowledge, and doing all those things, and nobody ever fucking saw him. The first match that Arn Anderson had, which was some debacle in or near Rome, Georgia, and also involving Ted Allen, later to become Nightmare Ted Allen, later to become Smoky Mountain ring truck guy, etc., etc. Good old Ted Allen. Arn, actually, he was going bald when he was in his early 20s. He wore a toupee in his first match in some indie show somewhere, and I think it either fell off or started flapping. And that was the end of that. But that's the problem, is Brock has had nowhere to go like that. When you've been able to, when your first year in the business, you go and work 7 nights a week for fucking Bill Watts and just sit in the locker room with the talent that he had then. That's better than going to wrestling school for 2 years. So it just, it's not fair to some of these guys now that they're just popping up on national TV, or that something they do in a barn somewhere because of the internet can be seen all over the world if people are interested. And that, that doesn't do anybody any favors either. We said a couple of weeks ago, and I'll finish this thought up, but we said a few weeks ago, and I can't remember how it came up, but there is no great undiscovered talent like a Tiger Mask in the wrestling business anymore, where you can see him for the first time ever and go, holy fucking shit. Because anybody worth anything can be seen by anybody from anywhere now because of the internet. So you can't be an undiscovered sensation anymore.
Well, Jim, certainly after watching Rhodes to the Top, some of the listeners may feel like drinking. And you may not just want the typical hooch. You may not want something you get down at the liquor store. You may want something a little more classy. You may want to class it up, Game of Thrones style, after watching Rhodes to the Top and enjoy a nice glass of wine.
Well, Brian, if you want to have a tasty beverage, a cocktail, a glass of wine, then I suggest that you get on the good side of the folks at WSJ Wine from the Wall Street Journal. We just got a big box delivered to the castle here of some of the fine wines that they've picked out. And folks, you will want to as well. Going into the holidays, WSJ Wine is your key to holiday prep. If you got a dinner party to attend, you need a hostess gift. With WSJ Wine, you are never empty-handed or empty-stomached. WSJ Wine from the Wall Street Journal is the best way to find your new favorite wines from all over the globe. And the holidays are a perfect time to reconnect, reminisce, and indulge. Even overindulge. As a matter of fact, get positively soused. But most importantly, the holidays are a celebration of togetherness. Even if you hate people, you want to be together with them at the holidays. With WSJ Wine at the center of it all, this holiday season promises one joyful discovery after another. You'll find out things about people in your family you never knew after four bottles of wine.
The discovery's about the wine, not the secrets
discovery
from the
of the
family.
wine, yes. And then the things that the wine brings out. About, that time at summer camp and who really took that money out of Dad's. But anyway, folks, the WSJ Wine Discovery Club brings award-winning wines right to your doorstep. Get direct access to these small batch, handcrafted wines you need to try this holiday season. This is not mass manufactured stuff. This is fine, artisan crafted, small batches. Some of these people just make a bottle or two in their bathroom. It's very limited, so you get the finest quality.
It's professional.
Folks, yes, very professional. It's a plumber installed the bathtub. Anyway, WSJ Wine presents the Holiday Top 12, the most wonderful wines of the year. Uncork them all and save $125. WSJ Wine tastes over 40,000 wines each year and selects less than 1% of them, many of which are award winners.
Just like Brzezinski.
Yes, Dave Brzezinski, Supermouth himself, he is a wine connoisseur and expert. I met him in a sewer, as a matter of fact. Folks, at WSJ Wine, you can rate your wines and refine your selections. Tell them what you like and what you didn't. Even speak to a personal wine advisor so they can customize your next case of wine. And there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love a wine for any reason, you'll get a refund. And you can receive a new dozen from WSJ Wine's most talented winemakers every 3 months. At about 1 bottle a week, you can enjoy at your own pace. Or if you go with the 2 or 3 bottles a day, like if you were living in Connecticut and working for Vince McMahon, then you can go through a case in about 4 days. Anyway, members save at least 20% on every case they choose to take while earning exclusive rewards and VIP upgrades. There's no obligation to continue. The WSJ Wine Discovery Club offers the flexibility to delay delivery, skip a case, or cancel anytime. But why would you want to do that when you can get drunk off your ass? Folks, now try the WSJ Wine Holiday Top 12, plus enjoy 2 bonus bottles and 2 wine glasses for $69.99 plus tax and shipping. Holy shit, I can't even do the math, but that turns out it's the same price as a 2-liter of Sprite Zero for this fine wine. You got to text Jim, J-I-M, to 64,000 to get that special offer. Text Jim to 64,000. That's 64 and 3 zeros. Some people still ask about this. 64,000, 64000. Text Jim to 64,000 and the Holiday Top 12, 2 bonus bottles and 2 wine glasses for $69.99 plus tax and shipping. Holy boy, howdy, how in the world do we do that?
Ask for the Dixie special and you get 4 bottles and sued by Billy Corgan.
Well, if you ask for the Dixie Holiday special, you get 8 bottles sued by Billy Corgan and end up with Kevin Nash on your lap. Folks,
on her lap. Wait, hold on, he's on her lap, really?
Terms apply. Available at WSJWine.com/terms. Or terms available at NashesOnDixieslap.com. I don't know.